One more. I'm trying to be clean. 1, 2.
I've got to laugh for miles, 'cause I got hope and smiles. I am an idealist who believes in the world. I believe in choices. I believe in positives. I know we can reverse the crisis of today.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Juxtaposition. My name is Felicia Mullins, and today I am honored and very privileged to bring you two podcasts. This is part one that you're watching with an accomplished educator and an incredibly renowned community leader, Dr. Doreen Harden Cato. How are you doing today, Dr. Cato?
I'm doing great and excited about the interview.
Oh, this is wonderful. I am so excited too. Today, you're going to tell us a little bit about yourself, about a book you published, and about leadership. And so why don't we kick this off? Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Cato.
Well, to start with, I'm 70 years old. And I say that because a lot of people say, oh, you don't look 70. Well, I am. I'm 70 years old and have been working since 1967. Haven't stopped since then. And I've done a lot. I've taught in the public school system. I've been a part of a bank. United Way. I started raising funds with them. So I'm an accomplished fundraiser as well. A major fundraiser. Yeah, a major fundraiser.
I know you did a lot of fundraising in the Seattle area.
And yes, I did. I did. In fact, over the years, I had raised $52 million. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And I haven't even added what I raised with Grace Harbor Youth Works in there. So it's been a great life. The part that really gave me the most pleasure was working with the kids that I did for 15 years. And that was first place. And that was working with homeless and low-income children. And they are the ones that galvanized me into looking in the study of trauma and, of course, my own life. Yeah. And that's what we're doing today.
And throughout your experience as you're a leader, as you're developing these organizations and working with a variety of populations, you decided to write a book about trauma and leadership. Tell us what inspired you to write the book. And the book is called Saving the Leader Within. It was published in 2011.
Right.
And we'll definitely let everyone know and show them where they can pick this up. But what inspired you to write this wonderful piece?
The kids that I worked with at First Place and my own story. And it was really difficult working because that would bring up my own traumas. But those kids, they had from the extreme trauma to a little bit of trauma, but they all were traumatized children. And watching and dealing with them was something that really opened my eyes to the impact that trauma can have on children. And these kids do not know that they're traumatized. And so when it came time for me to work on my dissertation, I decided to focus on that. And since I was in the field of education, how could I maximize my training in being able to help those children? And through the study of trauma, and it opened my own eyes in my personal life. So I realized it would have been difficult to try and use them as subjects in the story. So I ended up using my own family. Yeah.
And you started out using I'm sorry, I'm hearing some feedback, so bear with us, audience. You started out with using a theorist and developing a framework in assessing the trauma that you've experienced with your own family, and you've studied with leaders that you cover in your book. Tell us a little bit about the theorist you use and the framework that you developed.
I had selected Clark Moustakas, and the reason why I selected his work, it was heuristic, was his area of focus. And that in itself is working around the process of how do you reach a problem, and through, say, looking at yourself. And he used these examples of how to do that. But he came up with a methodology, a design and a methodology on how to reach that. And so I decided to be the subject of that and to see if it worked. And it worked. It threw me in a tizzy because I didn't expect it to work as well as it did. And that's where I came across his work. And heuristic, I had never heard of it. And trying to figure out what would be the best way to do that, especially with a dissertation, that would make that a study, a focus, a piece of research. And so I was surprised, but my doctor of the program, he thought it was a good idea. And then from there, it took me 3 years to write the book.
3 years?
Because I did the dissertation. I finished my doctorate in 2007, and I wrote the book. It took me about 2 years to write that book, but in 2011 is when I published.
So if you discuss the lives of Eleanor Roosevelt, Sojourner Truth, Dr. Martin Luther King, and Wangari Maathai. And you use these leaders to show how these historical figures were also affected by trauma. Why did you choose Sojourner Truth in particular? Can you tell our audience a little bit about what you discovered of this wonderful leader that we really don't hear enough about?
No, you don't. I looked at, I wanted to do 4 leaders I thought that people knew. Of course, along the process, I realized they didn't know about the other 2. They knew, most people know Eleanor Roosevelt and Dr. Martin Luther King. But even in their stories, there were pieces I didn't know until I started studying them. So Sojourner Truth came up because it was in the 1700s that she was a slave. And the fact is, people didn't realize she was a feminist. She was a minister. My goodness, this woman did a tremendous amount of work, and I don't think that they did enough about her. When they talk about trials, they talk about Scott and the fact that he was trying to get himself not to be sent back down south. And she was the first, she went to trial before he did to get her kid back from a slaver. So when I read that, I said, what? And I read that, made me get even more into her life. And I realized that she was a leader. She stepped out of that situation and went into ministry. And then from there, she went into fighting for women's rights. And she had children. She, like I said, she fought for her son at age of 5 to get him away from the slaver who was beating him. And she had a baby with her when she ran away from the plantation. And I think she had 2 other children she could not take out that the slave owner considered his property, so she couldn't take them. But here is this woman, a single parent, and doing all of these great things. And I thought, this is a time to really bring her to the forefront, more to the forefront. But what got me was her piece around Ain't I a Woman?
Oh, yes.
And reading that, I thought, yes, she's definitely have to be in this piece.
One more. I'm trying to be